Listen, I like that fight. It's gonna be a really interesting fight. I just feel that it will be a Khabib night. I feel that Khabib's power is he's got great power. The striking is gonna be very interesting. However, those takedowns, man, I just don't know if Dustin can stop those takedowns. I think Dustin is smart enough to come up with a really good plan. Him and his team are very smart. Okay, not smart enough, super smart. I'm just saying that the challenge is really high. Okay, Khabib is the best lightweight of all time. In my opinion, he's the best lightweight of all time. He will get those takedowns. I really believe he'll get those takedowns. And once he gets on top, we'll have to wait and see what Khabib does. But I do believe the guy who still has the best chance of beating Khabib is Tony Ferguson. So for me, when I look at the roster right now, the guy with the best chance to beat Khabib is Ferguson. And don't forget, Ferguson has never been dethroned. So for me, there are 3 champions right now. There are 3. There's Khabib, of course, undisputed. There's Dustin, interim champion. And there's the man who was stripped of his title. Rightfully so. He hadn't. I believe it's been a year. I believe he was stripped before the year was up, if I remember correctly. They had stripped him before, which I thought was unfair. It shouldn't be stripped. However, I do believe now it's been a year since he won against Kevin Lee, and I still believe that he is arguably the best 155er in the world. But if you ask me to make that decision, I would pick Khabib. I just believe that people have a good argument when they say it's Tony Ferguson. I just believe that it's a good argument. Even though I don't agree, I still believe that it is Khabib. It is Khabib's time right now. For how long, that remains to be seen. But right now, you can argue for Dustin. You can argue for Tony. And of course, without a doubt, you can argue for Khabib. And I think most people would agree it's Khabib. Do you feel that Max is a better matchup to beat Khabib than Dustin? That's from Paragon. No, I don't believe so. I believe that Dustin is the better matchup. Dustin is the more strategic fighter. And to beat Khabib, you're going to need lots of talent, you're going to need lots of skill, and you're going to need a very, very good strategy. So you're going to need all those 3 to beat Khabib. Man, Khabib's stand-up is really good. It's highly, highly underrated. Highly underrated. We saw him with McGregor. In round 3, it was all stand-up mostly. There was some cage wrestling, of course, but there was a lot of stand-up. And I felt it was neck and neck. And I know the judges officially gave it to McGregor, but I felt it was a very close round, striking-wise. I felt that McGregor landed more, but Khabib landed more powerful shots. Tough call to make. I agree. And no, I won't argue with the judges. If they gave it to McGregor, I wasn't there live that night. I wasn't watching the fights live. I was watching it live on TV. But when you're there up against the cage and you're watching those shots land, you kind of feel that power transfer. You kind of sense it a little bit more. And when I was watching it live, I had given it to Khabib. Then I saw the judges and I talked to a few other people. A lot of people gave it to McGregor. So I agreed. You know what? Let's make it a McGregor round. Again, because I wasn't there live. So I would agree with the judges. All 3 judges, if I remember correctly, all 3 judges gave it to McGregor. So, but however, the striking in round 2, he drops McGregor early. He just was all over McGregor, standing on the ground, wrestling. It was just all over. He's just all over him. I think he could do the same to Poirier. Khabib's stand-up is excellent? ? Come on, Faraz. That's from Ludwig. Guys, his stand-up. Okay, let's look at his stand-up. He had a bad performance standing against Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson was tagging him. I agree. Let's look at the facts, okay? Now, don't forget, I understand there are mechanical issues. I understand there are mechanical issues with Khabib's movement. However, let's put that aside for now. Let's look at the results. He had a bad fight standing up with Michael Johnson. I think we could all agree he got hit with shots that, we were all thinking that, hey, if that kept going, if he could stop that takedown, that could be a very bad night for Khabib. So I agree with you. There were problems with the stand-up. And then he fights Al Iaquinta. Al Iaquinta, he showed an incredible jump in his stand-up. He won all the stand-up in that fight. All of it. In my opinion, there was some nice Strikes from Al Iaquinta. Al Iaquinta was very competitive. He did a really good job. He lasted all 5 rounds. However, Khabib landed the better shots. Whether it was due to the fear of Al Iaquinta getting taken down, and that created a real problem. You know, he had to divide his attention between the takedown defense and the striking. Be that as it may, nonetheless, Khabib outstruck and outlanded Al Iaquinta, and Al Iaquinta is one of the best strikers in the division. Al Iaquinta is one of the best punchers in the division, guys. No question about it. Nobody's going to argue that. The man's fights speak for themselves. So, with that said, he goes and he fights McGregor. He drops McGregor. How many fighters out there have dropped McGregor? Only Nate Diaz. Only Nate Diaz. So we have to give Khabib his due. He's landing shots. Forget about his mechanics. Forget about his twitchiness. Forget about his head movement. Forget about that for now. Did McGregor hit him? Yes, McGregor hit him. Did he walk through those strikes? Yes, he did. McGregor did land the left hand. In round 3, he landed plenty of left hands. And it seemed like every other guy's left hand. It didn't seem like anything special. Khabib took them well. And Khabib kept responding. And Khabib kept landing his own strikes. So much so that the takedowns at round 4, I mean, the takedown was, almost, it looked effortless by Khabib. Khabib threw some strikes, grabbed onto a single, tripped him, got on top of him, and just there was nothing left for McGregor. And McGregor had no more grappling left. He had no more striking left. He had no more wrestling left. It seemed like it was just an overwhelming round 4. It was an overwhelming round 4. So, in my opinion, let's just call it Khabib's combination of wrestling and striking would be too much, in my opinion, for everybody in the lightweight division. Okay, but it remains to be seen. There's a lot of competitive fights out there to make. But I do believe that Khabib's striking, maybe it's not pretty. Maybe it's not mechanically sound. 100% mechanically sound. However, it is effective. He gets the job done. Look, the man knocked down McGregor, for goodness sake. McGregor is an elite puncher. Elite. The man fought Mayweather for 10 rounds, for goodness sake. The guy is a masterful counterpuncher. He's got an incredible chin. He's super precise. Talking about McGregor here. His shot selection is amazing. His diversity, he throws the kicks. He has a beautiful diversity of kicks, elbows. He's a brilliant striker. And Khabib went neck and neck with him. Effectiveness is there, even though his mechanics... I felt like, McGregor really criticized Khabib's striking. He said, look, you're a twitcher. Your head doesn't move. You're going to get lit up. You're not going to be able to stop my striking. He did. He got the better. If you weigh all the striking in that fight, there was 4 rounds, okay? And even though round 4 was not too long, there was still not very much striking around number 4. Not much striking around 1 and 2 even. However, if you accumulate all the striking there was, it was very competitive. Very competitive. And McGregor is arguably the best striker in the UFC, let alone the lightweight division in the UFC. Okay, so let's not forget that he's striking, whether it's due to his aggressive wrestling. Maybe some of you are going to argue that because they have to watch out for the takedown so much, it divides their attention, that it makes Khabib's striking look better than it is. I would agree with you. I would say, look, that's still making his striking very effective. For whatever reason, his striking is very effective. Now, in my opinion, that's enough for him to be the greatest lightweight of all time. Even though his mechanics of punching, his punching mechanics are not as pretty. And even Javier Mendez said it. He said, look, we're not going in there to strike with McGregor. We know that McGregor is this elite striker. We know. He was saying that. Look, the whole team knows. Khabib is going to go in there and use his striking and wrestling together to beat McGregor. So I would agree with you, with many of you who think that his striking is not the most efficient. But what I'm saying is it's super effective. It's highly effective.